My husband, who has completely left the upbringing of our 2 daughters to me, even on that day when he came home late as usual, he casually said this as if nothing happened.
Hey, starting tomorrow, I'll be on a business trip for 5 days.
Huh? You've been saying for a while that tomorrow's the kid's birthday party.
It's a sudden business trip. It's work, so there's no helping it.
While my husband shamelessly said it with a half smile, I clenched my fist in anger, but somehow managed to force a smile. I understand. Well, I guess there's no helping it.
I'm glad you understand. Enjoy your time with the kids and the party.
Saying that, my husband went to take a bath in a cheerful mood. Upon seeing that, I resolved to take a certain action. The following week, when my husband returned, he was hit with shocking words from our daughters. My name is Julia Rivers. I'm a 36-year-old working mother. I work as an elementary school teacher. I always loved children and wanted to work in a job involving them. So, when I passed the teacher recruitment exam, I was genuinely happy. Since then, I've always put my students first and worked diligently. Before I knew it, despite being in my late 20s, I didn't have a boyfriend. My parents started telling me, maybe it's time to think about your own happiness, and I began to feel anxious. In a hurry, I registered with a marriage consultation agency. In that agency, I was introduced to Noah, who would later become my husband, after several introductions. Noah was an ordinary office worker working for a small to medium-sized company. From our first meeting, Noah was kind to me and escorted me with grace. I quickly fell in love with Noah. In this way, we started dating and got engaged a year later. We received blessings from both families, completed our registration, and had the wedding ceremony. On the night after the wedding, Noah said to me,
Julia, let's build a happy family from now on.
Thank you, Noah. How many children do you want?
Whoa, you're thinking ahead. But I definitely want to. I like the idea of a lively family.
That sounds good. Since I love children too, let's do our best. About half a year into our marriage, it was soon revealed that I was pregnant. Noah jumped for joy and lovingly supported me throughout the pregnancy. And then I gave birth to our first daughter. Both of our parents were delighted by the arrival of our little one. At that time, I was at the peak of happiness. Since our parents lived far from our home, Noah and I decided to handle parenting mostly on our own. I took 3 months of maternity leave, but Noah, due to his busy work schedule, couldn't take any parental leave. However, this turned out to be more challenging than anticipated. Our child cried a lot at night and was generally fussy. She would sleep if I held her, but the moment I put her in the crib, she would start crying intensely. As a result, I had to hold her throughout most of the night. While Noah genuinely helped with parenting during the sacred early period, he gradually started to neglect childcare. Moreover, when Mia cried in the middle of the night, he began saying things like this.
It's so noisy. Hey, hurry up and make Mia stop crying.
Nighttime fussiness is unavoidable, isn't it? There's nothing I can do about it. While looking at Mia, I answered like that, but Noah still seemed irritated.
I have work again tomorrow. Let me get some sleep.
I haven't had a decent night's sleep in days either. Can't you step in for a change once in a while?
Huh? Why me? You're on maternity leave and I'm working during the day.
But we're raising 2 children together. Noah didn't listen to my words until the end and ended up sleeping in the living room instead of the bedroom. When faced with the significant challenge of childcare, even couples who have been close can become tense. I read something like that in a magazine. However, I had somehow brushed it off, thinking it didn't apply to us. Yet to my surprise, Noah and I found ourselves in this awkward situation. While I struggled with concerns about my relationship with my husband, there was no choice but to focus on the immediate task of childcare. After that, Noah continued to contribute very little to childcare, and I ended up taking on the main responsibilities. But somehow, Mia grew up and turned 3, and some time passed. One day, it was revealed that I was pregnant with our second child. Fortunately, the pregnancy was progressing smoothly. One day after Mia had fallen asleep, I sat down with Noah. "Hey, Noah, for the next child's birth, can you take parental leave?" Noah's face twisted in response.
Huh? There's no way I can take parental leave.
But this time, we still have little Mia, and no matter what, I'll be overwhelmed.
No matter what you say, it's impossible. You'll manage being a mother of two, no matter what.
No matter how many times I said it, he seemed adamant about not taking parental leave. While Mia had grown considerably, she was still at the demanding age of 3. If you added taking care of the newborn into the mix, it was going to be quite challenging. So I made a certain decision. "Noah, I'm thinking of going back to my parents' home for a while, taking advantage of giving birth there, to take care of the children." I explained to Noah about my mother retiring this year and having more time. It would be challenging for him to commute here regularly, so I've decided to take Mia with me and spend a few months at my parents' house. Upon hearing this, Noah seemed to have a somewhat relieved expression.
I see. If your mom can help, that's reassuring. It's a good idea.
Noah said this without showing much sadness about not being able to see me and Mia for a while. "Well, yeah, I'll send you updates about Mia and the newborn through emails regularly, okay? Are you going to be okay alone, Noah?"
I've been living alone for a long time. Go ahead and take your time.
"Thank you." And so I took Mia, who was 3 years old, and returned to my parents' home for about 6 months. Shortly after that, I gave birth to our second child. It was another girl, and we named her Tara. Life at my parents' home was quite comfortable. With my parents taking good care of Mia and Tara, I was able to secure more sleep and gained some alone time for myself. When I finally had the chance to have tea at a cafe after a long time, I felt like I could finally return to being human. Mia started to laugh more often than when I was doing solo parenting, and she also continued to grow rapidly. While staying at my parents' house, I often sent Noah photos of Mia and Tara. Although Noah's reactions varied, there were times when he said things like,
"They're cute,"
or
"I miss them."
so I felt reassured. And so the 6 months period of staying with my parents came to an end. I was able to restore my energy and I gained confidence in taking care of both children. Finally, I could see Noah again. With that thought in mind, I returned home. My husband greeted us with a smile, saying,
"Welcome back."
It seemed that Noah had also been refreshed. While having a meal together and talking about the children's developments over the past 6 months, I noticed something. "Noah, what about the wedding ring?" My husband hadn't been wearing the matching wedding ring we had since our marriage.
"Oh, it's a bit awkward, but I actually lost it."
He said this with an uncomfortable expression, and I was shocked. "Is that so? Maybe we should consider getting a new one?"
"No, we're going to need money for parenting, and I haven't thought about replacing it." "But even if the ring is gone, we're still a married couple, right? Is there a problem?"
"Yeah, you're right. There's nothing we can do about it." Just like that, Noah stopped wearing his wedding ring. Perhaps it started around the time I returned from my parents' home. Noah often mentioned being busy, and our home became frequently vacant. Weekdays were filled with constant overtime, and even on weekends he would say he had work-related commitments and leave. Naturally, he didn't help with housework or childcare, and all the responsibilities fell on me. Despite the daily busyness, I never doubted my husband. As time passed, our daughters continued to grow rapidly. Mia entered the 1st grade, and Tara turned 3. I had returned to teaching as my profession. Noah had been extremely busy for the past few years, and he continued to be frequently away from home. Perhaps because of this, while our daughters still called Noah Dad, they were almost always stuck to me, having little expectations from their father. Honestly, it wasn't an ideal situation. One day when Noah returned from work, I decided to share my thoughts with him. "Hey, Noah, Mia is turning 7 and Tara will be 3 next month, you know? Do you remember their birthday party?"
"Huh? Birthday party? Oh, right. It's that time already."
Upon muttering this with apparent disinterest, I told Noah, "The kids feel lonely because you're always busy. How about for the birthday party we all go to church together as a family and then have a meal afterwards?" My husband didn't seem enthusiastic, but after pleading with him several times, he finally nodded reluctantly. We need to create memories during the birthday party and strengthen the family bond. That's what I was thinking at the time. After that, for a while, I was making home visits to families of my students in areas I wouldn't usually go, including Tara's non-regular visitation zone. The next thing I knew, it was 5:30 p.m., and I was in a hurry to pick up Tara at nursery school. In the midst of the hustle and bustle, I suddenly look up and see a shocking scene. What? Noah, who's that woman next to him? I was surprised to see Noah walking away arm in arm with a strange woman. I quickly asked a mommy friend who lived in the same apartment building to take my daughters and followed them. They then went into a pub. I followed without being noticed and took a seat nearby. I was shaking with anger as I recorded the overheard conversation between Noah and the woman. So that's what it was about. I'll never forgive you. I left the restaurant without their noticing and quickly returned home. Sometime later, the day before my daughter's birthday party.
Hey, I'm going on a 5-day business trip starting tomorrow.
Noah came home late and said nothing as he took off his suit. Huh? Tomorrow is the kids' birthday party. Wasn't it planned in advance?
It's a sudden business trip. It's for work. There's nothing I can do about it.
Noah's nonchalant, unapologetic half-smile angered me, but I clenched my fist and forced a smile. I understand. Well, if that's the case, there's no helping it.
I'm glad you understand. Enjoy the birthday party with the kids.
With those words, Noah happily went to take a bath. I immediately made a call to someone. The next day, Noah left on a business trip. I had contacted my parents the day before, asking them to accompany us for the birthday party. Thanks to that, my parents arrived early in the morning, and we were able to conclude the birthday party without making our daughters feel lonely. After my parents left, I had a conversation with my 2 daughters. Mia, Tara, listen carefully. They listened earnestly to my story. The week passed, and Noah returned from his business trip.
I'm back, you two. Missed your dad, huh? I bought souvenirs.
Noah casually said this at the doorstep. Then Tara, our eldest daughter, asked, "Who's the uncle?"
Huh?
Next, our second daughter, Tara, chimed in.
"Did the uncle go somewhere?"
Huh? Huh?
Facing a bewildered Noah, I smiled and told the kids, "It's time to go to your rooms now." The 2 of them replied, "Yes, Mom," and went back to their room together.
What's going on? Why are they calling me uncle? What did you fill their heads with?
Noah, with a mix of agitation and anger, turned bright red. I calmly told him. I conveyed it to the children. They were told, "Dad is not Dad anymore. He's just a stranger."
Huh?
To someone who didn't even show up for the birthday party, you don't have the right to be called Dad.
Why are you getting angry over something like that? I told you it was work.
I calmly replied to Noah, who spat angrily at me. "Oh, work. When I contacted your company, they said you weren't on a business trip, but taking paid leave. And apparently, you took it during a genuinely busy period."
Huh?
Your colleague said something like, "He told us a family member fell ill and was hospitalized. There was an important meeting, so it was troublesome, but he took paid leave for that." So, who was hospitalized?
Oh, well, actually, it was my mom.
I tried contacting your mom just to be sure, but both your dad and your mom are doing well, unchanged. I sighed as Noah's eyes swam. The truth is, it wasn't a business trip or nursing care, but a cheating trip, right?
Huh? That's ridiculous. What are you talking about?
At that moment, I presented several photos taken some time ago. In those pictures, Noah was seen arm in arm with another woman strolling through a spa town and checking into the same room.
What is this?
I explained to him. Immediately after planning the birthday party, I was on a home visit and saw you, Noah, and a strange woman walking the streets. I overheard your conversation at the pub you went to at that time. When you said we have a birthday party coming up, and the other woman, feeling jealous, suddenly suggested I want to go on a trip on that day, right? I never thought you'd choose a cheating trip over our daughter's birthday party, but you did. So, when the topic of your business trip came up, I requested an investigation from a private detective, and we got conclusive evidence. I could no longer say anything, so I confronted him. People from your company informed me that a female colleague had taken a day off at the same time. She is your junior, right? I know about your affair within the company from the detective's findings. And it's been going on since Tara was born.
No, it's not like that. It was just a fling with her.
Facing my husband, who was turning pale, I thrust the pre-filled divorce papers at him. You and I are getting divorced. I'll make sure you pay the alimony for the affair and child support for our daughters.
No, I don't want to get divorced.
Then, shall we go to court? I'll do whatever it takes to divorce you. Noah's shoulders slumped, and he signed the alimony papers and the divorce papers. I pushed the package luggage towards Noah. As Noah tried to leave the entrance in a dejected manner, I delivered my final words. Oh, about the workplace affair, I informed your company with the evidence.
Huh?
Your boss was in a bad mood, you know. I'm looking forward for you to go to the office. After announcing that, I closed the door and locked it in front of my husband, who turned pale with a stunned expression. Later, Noah and I divorced. I received $30,000 in alimony, and he agreed to pay $1,000 per month in child support. I demanded consolation money from Noah's affair partner as well, but it seems they finally broke up due to the dispute over that matter. After I reported Noah's affair, rumors quickly spread throughout his company. Noah's affair partner chose to resign voluntarily, and Noah faced disciplinary action. Despite whispers and gossip among colleagues about Noah's workplace affair, he continues to work every day in what seems to be a living hell, unable to quit his job due to the obligation of child support payments. Noah, you'll have no career prospects, no family, and most of what you do work for will disappear in child support. Even knowing that, I have no sympathy whatsoever. I think he deserved it. On the other hand, with the settlement money, I moved and started a new life. Since my daughters weren't particularly attached to their father, they seemed fine with the divorce. Lately, both of them have started helping with household chores, which brings me great joy. Looking ahead, I want to embrace a bright and positive life, eagerly anticipating the growth of my beloved daughters.
My husband belittles me and leaves. How was it without me for a week? You need me, right? Me. It was great. Let's divorce. Result. Lol.
I wonder when he started looking down on me like this. Before we were married, he was so kind and always respected my opinions. Incompetent, stupid, dumb. He hurls these heartless words at me daily, asserting how much better he is than me. One day, I couldn't take it anymore and talked back, and he just snapped and stormed out. That's when I realized I should have done this from the start. My name is Melissa, 28 years old. I'm just an average employee at a company. I met my husband Dave through a friend's introduction, and after dating for 2 years, we got married. From the beginning, he was really smart and always made me feel happy.
This is for you, Melissa.
Oh my gosh! Is this the brand I said I liked?
It's been a year since we started dating. I wanted to give you something memorable.
This is so expensive. I feel bad. Like, I've made you go out of your way.
Don't worry about it. I bought it because I wanted to give it to you.
He was so thoughtful, almost unbelievably so for a man, always noticing even the smallest changes in me. Looking back, maybe he was just used to dealing with women. But to me, with my limited dating experience, he was incredibly charming. He was fair and kind to everyone, great at making conversation, had a good rapport with people, and was well liked. But that was just on the surface. A year into our marriage, the kind man I knew was gone. He still puts on a good front outside, but at home, he turns into the worst kind of guy, throwing around his authority. We both work, but I always end up doing all the household chores. If I come home late from overtime or serve a ready-made dinner, he instantly starts berating me.
Why is dinner just a ready-to-eat food from the supermarket?
Sorry, I got held up with overtime and didn't have time to cook.
Don't make excuses. You're so useless. Can't even make a proper dinner.
But what am I supposed to do? I work too, you know. If you're going to complain, why don't you cook sometimes?
What? Are you crazy? I'm allowing you to work. Be grateful to me, you slacker. Just go make something.
In his mind, it seems like I'm the one being selfish for wanting to work. I just want to keep working until we have kids. He never thinks of sharing the household chores, even though we both work. He constantly puts people down, but when something good happens at work, he won't stop bragging about it. Just the other day, he came home in a great mood and started boasting right away.
Today, at work, the juniors kept relying on me. I'm so busy with my own work, but I can't help it.
That sounds tough. Good job.
Everyone at the company acknowledges my abilities. Naturally, people gravitate towards me.
That's impressive, Dave.
Right? I'm on a different level from a loser like you. You should be thankful you got to marry someone as capable as me.
Our monthly incomes are not that different, yet he acts as if he's the only one who's superior. Frankly, his attitude often infuriates me. I usually try to bear it, but sometimes I can't help but talk back. No matter what I say, his opinions never change. He just counters with his usual faulty logic. Lately, even arguing feels too exhausting. Keeping a diary has been my hobby since I was young. In the beginning of our relationship, it was full of happy memories. But lately, it's just a record of the insults and verbal abuse he hurls at me. Then one day, something unforgivable happened. I had planned to go out for dinner with my best friend Lisa for her birthday a month in advance. I had told Dave and he had agreed. But on the day, he suddenly says something outrageous.
What? We're going to my parents' house right now.
What? I couldn't believe my ears. No way, I can't today. I've already made plans to celebrate Lisa's birthday.
Forget about that trivial thing. Just get ready to go to my parents' house.
I told you, I can't. I have plans with Lisa. If it's that important, go by yourself.
If I go alone, my parents will think we're having marital issues. They'll start asking all sorts of questions.
He's always been all about appearances. Only thinks about himself. I sighed heavily, and he, apparently not liking my reaction, turned red with anger and started shouting.
Just get ready, will you? You're stupid and useless. And your friend must be no better.
What? What are you saying?
No need to celebrate a birthday for such a person. It's a waste of money and time.
How dare you? Lisa is my dear friend. Take back what you said.
I'm just stating facts. Got a problem with that?
Of course I do. I can't just stay quiet when you insult my best friend. I won't forgive you until you take back those words and apologize. He smirked provocatively, snorted, and said,
"Not forgiving me until I apologize? Whatever. Do as you like. I don't need your forgiveness."
"What kind of attitude is that? Do you realize how awful you're being? You insulted my dear friend."
Oh, this is so annoying. Fine, I'm leaving. You should use this time to think about how you should behave towards me from now on. Think hard with that useless brain of yours.
After saying that, Dave left with just a few of his belongings. That was the moment when any love I had left for him completely vanished. I can't forgive him anymore. It's one thing to insult me, but to insult my best friend too? I didn't chase after him. Instead, I went to meet Lisa. After enjoying dinner and shopping with her, I returned home in the evening. Dave hadn't come back yet, but I didn't care. My feelings for him had already cooled off. He didn't return for a few days, and I enjoyed my time alone. And during this time, I realized something. Wait a minute. It's so much more comfortable without him around. Even when I manage the household chores in between work, he never appreciates or thanks me. Instead, he digs up faults in others and berates me. Continuing a marriage with such a man seems like a waste of time and money. His presence in my life is nothing but a hindrance. Why did I even try so hard to understand such a husband? Thinking about it, all my patience up until now just seems ridiculous. Continuing this marriage will only wear down my mental health. It's smarter to get a divorce sooner rather than later. With that decision made, I confided in my best friend Lisa. She listened to me sympathetically.
Oh, I had no idea. I always thought you had a happy marriage.
He's always desperate to keep up appearances. At home, he's awful. I said this with a distant look in my eyes, and Lisa murmured,
I see. So, what will you do now?
I'm thinking of getting a divorce.
I see. If that's your decision, then I support it. Want me to introduce you to a good lawyer?
That would be a big help.
Well, I work at a law firm, you know. I know plenty of sharp divorce lawyers.
Thank you. I can finally be free from that man and start a new life. After that, I consulted with a lawyer she introduced me to and started preparing for the divorce. Dave returned exactly a week after he had left. Seeing me, he smirked and said,
Melissa, long time no see. So, you must have had a lot to think about living alone, huh?
Indeed, I did realize quite a few things. He nodded, looking satisfied.
Good. You must have realized how much you appreciate me. You've reflected on your actions, right?
Reflected? What exactly should I be reflecting on?
Huh? You really are dense. I gave you all that time to think, but you haven't changed at all.
No, I have changed. He looked puzzled as I said this firmly.
Changed? In what way?
My feelings have changed.
Huh? How? You look exactly the same to me.
Can you just sign this for now?
What's this?
It's a divorce form. Can't you tell?
Divorce form?
Seeing the divorce form, he suddenly got furious.
Hey, are you crazy? You realized how much you need me while I was gone, didn't you?
Don't be ridiculous. I was actually quite comfortable alone. That's why I'm saying let's get a divorce.
What the? You can't just decide that on your own. Why do you think I left for a week? To give you time to reflect on your behavior.
Yes, I'm grateful for that. It gave me the chance to realize that I'm more comfortable without you, and that I don't need a man like you.
What?
He probably never imagined that I would decide to divorce him while he was away. He opened and closed his mouth, struggling for words.
You're talking nonsense. I gave you time out of my goodwill, and now you're talking about divorce? I won't accept such selfish behavior.
You don't have to accept it, but I won't cancel the divorce. And I'll be asking for compensation for the mental distress you've caused me daily.
Compensation? Why should I pay anything? I've only ever told the truth.
Do you think your oppressive words are justified? Even if they're true, being married doesn't give you the right to say anything.
Shut up. You're so arrogant. I won't pay any compensation.
Do as you like, but I'll have a lawyer, so be prepared. He started trembling and his face turned red with anger, like a volcano ready to erupt. He couldn't accept being cornered by the woman he had always looked down upon. He started yelling, spitting as he spoke.
Enough, you trash. You should have just listened to me instead of getting carried away. Who put such nonsense in your head? That worthless friend of yours?
I decided on the divorce all by myself.
Then you're a complete idiot. By divorcing me, you're just losing a capable husband. It's all downsides for you.
I can't believe you actually say that. The only one who thinks you're capable is yourself. Why can't you see that?
What did you say?
Just pay the compensation and sign the divorce form quickly, okay?
Shut up. First of all, you have no proof.
Oh, I have proof. I showed him my smartphone, which had numerous diary entries recorded. They detailed all the verbal abuse I had endured. He stared at the screen, and I told him clearly, detailed diaries like this can definitely be used as evidence. I was surprised myself.
You've been recording this the whole time?
It was a daily routine for me. Keeping a diary has always been like a hobby. But who knew it would come in handy like this? It was worth keeping it all these years.
You think I'll let you get away with this?
He stomped off to my room looking for the diary, probably to destroy the evidence. I watched him frantically search for it and said with a smile, "Go ahead and look. I hate to break it to you while you're searching so hard, but it's pointless. I've already given that diary to my lawyer. Did you really think I'd just leave such crucial evidence lying around? While you were gone, I was already moving forward with the divorce preparations."
Shut up. Anyway, I won't accept a divorce. I won't allow it.
Huh? I don't need your permission. I can get a divorce just fine without it, especially with all the evidence I've gathered. Dave wanted to say something back, but seemed to realize it was futile and just clenched his teeth in anger. It appears he doesn't think he's at fault at all. I was utterly disgusted with him. You look really ridiculous right now.
What did you say?
Do you even understand why things turned out this way? It's because you're the type of despicable person who belittles others without any guilt. Maybe you thought once we were married, and you had put on a good front, you'd have me for life. Too bad. I'm not foolish enough to devote my life to a lowlife like you.
You? How dare you talk to me like that? Who do you think I am?
You? I just see you as a self-absorbed piece of trash.
Trash, you say?
While you were gone, I realized that being married to trash like you is a waste of time. So, I decided to dump you quickly. You can struggle and suffer all you want. I hope you hit rock bottom. Just stay out of my life, forever. Ignoring my stunned husband, I walked out of the house, never to look back again. When I told his parents about the divorce, they were furious.
You fool! Divorce is a disgrace to our family.
Exactly. How can we face our neighbors now? What are you going to do about this?
I guess apples don't fall far from the tree. His parents also seemed to care excessively about appearances. His father scolded him harshly and even smacked him.
Oh, stop, Dad. Quiet. You can't even keep your family together, you pitiful fool. But I never thought she would stand up to me like that. You're disowned. Don't come back to this house. What? Reflect on your actions alone.
Dave apparently didn't expect to be hit by his father. He was pathetically crying and begging for forgiveness, to no avail. He was swiftly disowned by his parents. After that, my diary served as solid evidence, and the divorce went through. I successfully received the compensation too. My ex-husband's life fell apart after I left. His meals consisted of convenience store food or instant noodles, and his suits were all wrinkled. It's the natural consequence of him dumping all the housework on me. Word of the divorce reason slowly spread in his company, and his reputation plummeted. Now, he's treated like a pariah by his colleagues. For someone who used to boast about being relied upon by juniors, it must be a bitter pill to swallow. Honestly, he got what he deserved. As for me, I moved to an apartment near my office, making my commute easier. Living without having to worry about pleasing someone else every day is true happiness. From now on, I'm focusing on my work and hoping that someday I'll meet someone wonderful and make the right choice for a happy life.
My husband suggested selling my family home, claiming it's his too. I packed up and left for my parents. The outcome was a surprise.
Hey, you're not the one who requested the appraisal for my parents' house, right? I asked in horror, and my husband looked at me with a scowl and said,
Yes, but what?
Why? Why are you trying to sell my parents' house without permission?
Because we're a couple. Your parents' house is also my parents' house, isn't it?
He uttered such incomprehensible words with an indifferent tone, showing an attitude that seemed to blame me instead. In the end,
if you don't like it, leave.
With those dismissive words, he cast me away. I decided to divorce my husband and leave home. My name is Lizzie, and I'm 29 years old. After graduating from college, I worked in a pharmacy as a pharmacist. A few years ago, I finally found my husband Ronald, who is 3 years older. Not only is he kind of funny, but he's got a nice side to him that cares about me and the people I care about. However, there was a challenging journey to reach this point. He's always had a gambling habit, and we've had a few fights because of it. He spends most of his salary on gambling, and when he runs out of money, he goes into debt. If he was winning, fine, but when he was losing, he was on edge the whole time. I can't marry such a gambler no matter how much I love him. When I hesitated to marry him, he looked at me seriously and said,
I will stop gambling. I will pay back all my debts. That's why I want you to marry me.
True to his words, he completely quit gambling and cleared his debts. I decided to marry him, but I set a condition too. If you ever go back to the gambling, we'll divorce. He agreed, and within 3 years from our first meeting, we finally tied the knot. Ronald, despite his cheerful demeanor, had a sad past. His parents died in an accident when he was young, and he was raised in a foster facility. Consequently, he lacks many memories with his parents. Our marital home is about a 2-hour drive from my hometown. After marriage, we frequently visit, and he treats my parents like his own.
Thank you for always treating me so well, like a real son. I'm truly grateful for that. It feels like I've gained parents of my own.
Speaking warmly to my parents, my husband continued smiling. Seeing him so happy, I felt a warmth inside. A few years after our marriage, on a certain day— What? Dad? No way! A sudden call from my mother revealed the shocking news of my father's sudden death that morning.
He collapsed this morning, unconscious. It's too late.
Oh no! I quickly went to my parents' house with my husband, worried about my crying mother over the phone. What I saw was my father's lifeless figure with a pale face.
Why? Hey, wake up, please.
Frantically shaking my father's shoulders, my mother continued to call out. Witnessing her desperate efforts, I felt an indescribable emotion. After the funeral, let's all move in together with me here. I proposed this to my mother, but she never nodded in agreement.
It's a house full of memories with him, so I'll continue to live here. And your older sister is here too.
Since my real sister, who divorced a while ago, decided to return home with her daughter, I left the care of my mother to my sister. A few months later, I received unexpected news from my sister. Mom has passed away. According to my sister, after my father's death, my mother's health rapidly deteriorated. She hardly ate, secluded herself in her room, and when we tried to take her to the hospital, it was too late. Following my father, my mother. If only I could have helped her sooner. I couldn't shake off the regret. Why didn't I call or visit more? Was it just because I thought my sister could handle it? But my mother was far from okay. The grief over my parents' deaths wasn't mine alone. Upon learning of my mother's passing, my husband shed tears right in front of me. On the day my father passed away, he comforted me as I wept. He was crying like such a helpless child. When I saw that, I realized that he truly cared about my parents. Although my mother's funeral is over and things have settled down, my sister and I were left with various formalities. The biggest problem is my parents' house. I couldn't bear the thought of parting with the house my parents cherished. After discussions, it was decided that my sister would live in the family home with her daughter. 2 months later, I received an unusual call from my sister. Hello, Haley.
Oh, Lizzie. I'm sorry it's sudden.
Her voice sounded somewhat somber, noticeably different from usual. What's wrong? It's rare for you to call.
Actually, a real estate agent came to the house earlier.
Huh? A real estate agent?
I don't really understand, but did you do something, Lizzie?
Me? No, I haven't done anything.
I see.
Her voice was pondering, and she muttered.
That's strange.
Apparently, she thought I had called the real estate agent for our family home. First of all, why did the real estate agent come? I asked my sister the most crucial question.
Well, they said, we've come to appraise the house.
Appraise? Appraise means determining the value of the house, right? My sister had no intention of selling the family home, so why? When I asked her for more details, she said that a real estate agent suddenly visited our parents' house and said,
I have received a request and have come to assess the property.
My sister had no recollection of making such a request, and she thought I might have done it. Wait a minute, that's strange. There's no way I'd want to sell the precious home our parents left us.
Yeah, you and I agreed to keep the family home, so the matter should have been settled.
So, what happened in the end?
I thought it was strange, so I said I didn't request such a thing and declined. Oh, but I did get their contact information just in case.
Can you tell me the contact information for that agency? I immediately called the agency after obtaining the contact information from my sister. I provided the address of my family home and had the agent who came for the appraisal on the line. Upon confirmation,
Yes, we did indeed visit Mr. Davis's family home today.
Both my sister and I did not request an appraisal for the family home.
Even if you say that, we received the request here, and...
By any chance, could you tell me the name of the requester?
It's Ronald, right?
What? Ronald? Are you kidding me? No way my husband tried to sell my parents' house without my permission. Unable to accept this, I confirmed with the agent once again. This has to be a joke, right?
No, we did receive a request here.
So, let me get this straight.
He said he wanted to know the value because he's planning to sell the house soon.
Faced with this unexpected situation, I managed to decline the appraisal. I instantly went to my husband. Hey, can we talk for a moment?
Huh? What's up?
As my husband casually played with his phone, I nervously asked. Hey, you're not the one who requested an appraisal for my family's house, right? He responded with a puzzled expression.
Yeah? But?
What's with that yeah, but? What are you thinking? You didn't consult me and just decided to request an appraisal without permission. Even my sister was shocked. Why would you do something like this?
What? Why are you so angry? I mean, there's nothing wrong with an appraisal, is there?
It's not about whether it's a problem or not. Why would you do something on your own without permission? My sister is living in our family home and there's no intention to sell it. When I raised my voice, my husband sighed in annoyance.
I don't know why you're so angry. But don't make a fuss about just an appraisal. I haven't sold it yet.
It's not about that issue. Why would you try to sell my family's home without consulting me?
Well, we're married, so your family home from before is mine too, right?
Huh? I get that we're married, but even so, is it normal to just go ahead and try to sell my family's home like that? Suppressing my anger, I pressed my husband for further explanation. Enough already. It's true that we're married, but trying to sell the precious home left by my mom and dad without any consideration? It just doesn't make sense. In response to my outburst, my husband says,
But you see, it's a waste for your sister and her 2 kids to live in such a spacious house, right?
What are you talking about?
Since she's a single mom, wouldn't it be better for her to live in an apartment? Selling that house would give us financial stability.
His words leave me dumbfounded, struggling to comprehend the situation. Observing my stunned reaction, my husband adds,
Anyway, your parents are no longer here. Listen to me, your husband, and everything will be fine.
The kindness he had at the beginning of our marriage is nowhere to be found. It was as if he thought that all that mattered was what he thought was right. But that kind of rhetoric is unacceptable. Are you kidding me? Trying to sell the things my parents cherished? It's outrageous. I shouted at him, and he retorted.
Is your childhood home more important to you than me, Lizzie?
What?
If your childhood home is so crucial, then you don't belong here anymore. If you don't like it, get out of this house.
With heavy footsteps, he returned to his room. In that moment, an indescribable anger surged within me. Unbelievable. To tell me to leave, of all things? Simultaneously, one thing crossed my mind. The reason why my husband suddenly wanted to sell the family home. Why all of a sudden? We shouldn't be struggling with our lives or anything. No need to ponder. Knowing his past, I could easily imagine the reason. Gambling. He needs money for gambling. There's no other reason why Ronald would suddenly sell the family home. Despite repeatedly promising to quit, he's secretly selling our precious family home for gambling funds. My patience has reached its limit this time. If that's how it's going to be, then I'll do as I please. From the beginning of our marriage, I made it clear that if he ever got involved in gambling again, it would lead to divorce. While he was asleep, I packed my things and left the divorce agreement on the table. I headed to the family home where my sister and her child live. The next day, when I woke up, I saw numerous missed calls and messages from my husband. He must have seen the divorce agreement. Reluctantly, I answered his call. Hello? As soon as he heard my voice, he bombarded me with rapid-fire questions.
Hey, why aren't you at home? Why is the divorce agreement sitting there? Wait, where are you right now?
You told me to get out if you don't like it, remember?
Well, that might be true, but...
Ronald, you said it, didn't you? Lizzie, just do what I say. So I left as you told me to, right? Despite his confusion, he reluctantly responded to my statement.
Well, I did tell you to get out, but I didn't mean it to lead to divorce. Let's just talk it out for now.
Talk it out? Well then, let me hear it. Why on earth did you get the idea to sell the family home?
Well, you see...
Answer me properly.
Ugh.
After persistently pressing him with questions, my intuition was spot on. My husband was once again involved in gambling without my knowledge, and not just the same kind as before. This time, he had ventured into stocks and forex. Each time he incurred losses, he took on debts, covering our living expenses to keep it hidden from me. It turned out he was burdened with debts close to $70,000. What? $70,000? Are you kidding me?
Sorry, I borrowed once and it became a habit. I couldn't tell you to keep it a secret.
Still, that doesn't justify selling someone's family home. Unbelievable. You're finished as a person.
It's not like that, Lizzie. I didn't mean any harm.
All this time,
I've been saving for our future.
He used to boast proudly. I thought he had quit gambling and was working seriously for our future. Yet, behind my back, he was giving me borrowed money as salary. Of course, I'm an irredeemable fool for not noticing it before. Still, I loved my husband, and that's why I've stayed married until now, believing in his word.
Lizzie, please, come back to me.
I poured out my emotions to my pleading husband as much as I could. I believed in your words. I'll quit gambling. All this time. I've believed in it for so long. Yet nothing has changed from before we got married. I can't take it anymore. I've reached my limit. I can't consider you as family anymore. Let's divorce and never show up in front of me again. I hung up the phone, swallowing my bitter feelings and expressing everything I wanted to say. After that, he called back several times, but I didn't respond. Later on, I hired a lawyer, and with my strong determination, the divorce was finalized. Since my ex-husband was entirely at fault, the divorce was smoothly accepted, and I could even claim alimony. Of course, it's impossible for him to get my parents' house. All that remained for my ex-husband was the $70,000 debt accumulated from gambling. Even after the divorce was finalized, he tried every possible means to get me to get back together with him. Like a stalker.
I messed up. I won't do anything selfish like that anymore. I'll really quit gambling. Please, forgive me. Without you, Lizzie, I'll truly be all alone.
Even if he says such things now, my heart remains unmoved. On the contrary, it even makes me nauseous. After that, I changed my phone number and email address. I also blocked incoming calls from my ex-husband. I consulted with the police and obtained a restraining order, completely cutting off any ties with my ex-husband. My ex-husband continues to live a difficult life, burdened with debts. His income from work alone is insufficient to keep up with repayments. He has fallen into a negative spiral of borrowing from various sources to pay off existing debts. Repayment seems impossible at this rate, and bankruptcy might be inevitable. Curing a gambling addiction at its core is challenging. I now believe that the divorce was the right decision. On the other hand, I am enjoying peaceful days with my sister and niece, the three of us together, in that beloved family home left by my parents. Marriage to my ex-husband might have been a mistake,
But ultimately, I managed to protect the house my father and mother left behind. And this is how I was able to get back to my peaceful life with my sister and my sweet niece. For the sake of my parents who raised me with care, I won't dwell on the past. From now on, I will live my life looking only forward.
My husband said, "It's a nuisance to hold a funeral on the day of this meeting. You gave birth to a failure."
"You're back at last." The girl with a big smile on her face made my husband pale and tremble. I guess it's understandable. I would have been shocked too if something unexpected like this happened. But this was his own fault. Let's make him sorry for all the horrible things he said, shall we? My name is Cecile. I'm 63 years old. I just gave my grandson a gift and cooked a meal for him for the new year. But it's not really that fancy. I can't help it if it's for my lovely grandchildren. However, I hate my food. When my children were young, it was a little easier to be extravagant. I have 2 daughters. Their names are Dana and Anna. We gave them names that rhythm because they are twins. My daughters told me that it was too easy to name them like that, just because they are twins. I couldn't say anything when they told them that, but actually, they were right. Dana, the eldest, was diagnosed with an incurable disease a little after she was born. Meanwhile, Anna is in perfect health. Dana was the only one who was weak and was in and out of the hospital repeatedly. I thought that we should all support her in her weak body as a family. But little by little, my husband started complaining. He did not want to visit her, and even when he came home from the hospital on occasion, he seems to find it a bit of a hassle. He loved her sister more and took her out on holidays and was by all accounts a good father to her. My daughters were just starting middle school at the time. I wondered if he was aware of the distance between him and his daughter, who had grown up in a different place, unlike her sister, who had lived with us all her life. It was not until our daughters were in their 3rd grade of high school that I learned that my husband had a different view.
Why send Dana to high school? She has been in and out of the hospital so many times, so it would be difficult for her to go on to a regular high school, right?
However, there were options for her to go on to higher education, such as distance learning courses. I wanted to respect Dana's decision, but my husband wanted her to stop going to school in the first place.
It would only be a waste of money.
Isn't that too much?
In fact, even if you pay the admission fee, she will probably end up dropping out because she can't go to school. It would be a waste of money anyway, so it would be better not to let her go to school from the beginning.
You should ask Dana about that, right? It's not your decision to make without asking her. He will say it's for the best. I've noticed that as Dana has gotten older, she feels more and more inferior to her sister. She worries that she is in and out of the hospital a lot, and that she is hurting the family financially. I know my children don't need to worry about that, but our finances have certainly been tight. My husband does not make a lot of money, and due to my daughter being in the hospital, I'm unable to work many shifts at my part-time job, so our income is not stable. With twins, there was a lot of money to spend on graduation and admission fees, and no matter how much we tried to make things right, it was inevitable that they would realize that we had no money. On top of that, my husband always says that we have no money no matter how hard we work. It is true, but I wish he would refrain from saying that in front of our daughters. But my husband doesn't care about that. He said it on the day Dana was discharged from the hospital, of all days, and it became his habit. Stop saying we don't have money.
What's wrong with telling the truth?
I don't want you to say that in front of the kids. You know Dana's worried about the money for her treatment, right?
The kids, huh?
What was that line? I kinda don't like it.
I mean, what can you do? I don't think Dana is cute anyway, to be honest.
Isn't that a bit too much? She's your daughter.
It's hard to think of a child who isn't around most of the time.
I often hear that men don't understand the pain of having a child in their bellies, so they finally feel their children are their own only once they are at home. But how can he not think of her as his child just because they lived apart from each other? I wondered if I should show some understanding and talk to him, or if I should lash out at my husband as I feel. To tell you the truth, in my mind, I'm thinking that he's being mean, and I want to be angry, but it's true that parenting has changed from the norm. I gave birth to my children, and I love both of them equally, even more than my own life. I don't understand my husband, who doesn't have that feeling, but he probably doesn't understand this feeling either. I couldn't say what I wanted to say, because I thought it would be wrong to yell at him. Anyway, you should be more considerate to your children. I knew I should have said something different, but that's all I said, and left the room that day. I avoided a long conversation, partly because I didn't want my daughters to hear. After that, my husband and I had many more arguments. He started blurting out that our family had no savings because of Dana. I was honestly not interested in hearing about it, and it was unpleasant. Frankly, it was a topic I didn't want to hear. It's not Dana's fault that we don't have any savings, is it? If anyone is to blame, it's us, parents who don't make much money, isn't it? Especially my husband who has made a mistake at work and is stuck at his job. It is insane to blame our daughter, who is suffering from an illness that is beyond her control, while pretending not to know about our own shortcomings. I tried not to let Anna hear it, but I could not control myself as I was arguing with my husband, so I'm sure Anna must have noticed it. Eventually,
You gave birth to a failure. That's why this is happening now.
I think the fact that my husband's job performance was sluggish at the time, and he was being overtaken in his position by a junior colleague, was also a factor in his stress. Even so, there was no way I could have any luck for someone who called my daughter a failure. And I gradually became aware that my husband and I were getting a divorce. However, I didn't earn enough money or save enough to pay for my daughter's hospital bills and school fees on my own. If it were true, I would have preferred to divorce my husband without holding back and following my feelings. But I didn't want to cause my daughters any trouble or leave them stranded on the street. I wanted to plan carefully. Then one day, when my daughters turned 18,
What? What is it now?
I heard my husband's voice on the phone. A real grumpy voice. Dana is dead. You have to come home now.
You've got to be kidding me. Do you know what today is?
It was a meeting for a project he was promoting. Some of his major clients were out of town. It wasn't really the kind of work that my husband could handle, but the person in charge of the project was hospitalized due to an accident. So my husband, who was in a lower position, was suddenly given the job. My husband seems to be feeling a lot better after he got the big job and got arrogant.
I'm annoyed just by looking at your face. And my daughter is not pretty enough on top of that.
He didn't even come home, but stayed at his office to prepare for the project. Rather than working hard for the sake of his family, he neglected his family and devoted himself to his work. In retrospect, to him, it seems like we didn't really matter.
I have an important meeting today.
I can't help but feel uncomfortable with my husband. What is family to you? I clenched my fists in anger. Anyway, I called him home several times, telling him to come back because we are having a funeral. He finally came home at night. When my husband saw Anna crying, he did not shed a single tear. On the contrary, he scolded her and told her to go to bed at a time like this.
What a nuisance to have a funeral on the day of an important meeting. She's not a very nice child until the end.
Saying this, my husband sat down on a chair in dissatisfaction. Immediately afterward, he noticed another shadow behind where he was sitting and quietly turned around. The smile of the figure behind him makes him turn pale.
What? Why? She was in the coffin just now.
Welcome home, Father. Dana grabs my husband's shoulder with a big smile. Ah, I'm tired. And Anna, who was pretending to be dead, gets up from the coffin. Great job, sister.
What the hell? What's going on?
Well, a successful surprise, huh?
Huh?
My husband's eyes widen in shock at Dana's words. Actually, this funeral was Dana's suggestion. She had been feeling much better recently, and it had just been decided that she would be able to live at home instead of being hospitalized. However, Anna had told her how her dad and I were doing, and she was aware of her father's disapproval of her, and that I was thinking of getting a divorce. I don't want to go home if things are like that. So Dana came up with the idea of a funeral. If my father hears that I had passed away, he might change his ways. That's why she went to the trouble of creating this setup and planned to switch places with her sister. I can't help but wonder if it was necessary to go to such length. But I guess my daughters felt that they could finally do something fun together. They looked like they were having a lot of fun when they were planning the project, and I felt bad for my husband, but I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. It was like our family bonding project. I didn't realize they hated him enough to spite him. Haha.
You should be more angry at Dana.
My husband mumbled in frustration.
You girls, how could you deceive your own father?
Are you still pretending to be your father? I'm telling you now, Mom is thinking of divorce.
What's up with that?
I'm going with Mom too. You'll be on your own. Do you understand that you won't be our father anymore? Anna's words made my husband's face go blank for a moment. Then, he immediately turned pale and asked me if I was serious. You don't borrow something like this from a friend unless you're serious, you know. Yes, this set was specially rented by Anna from her childhood friend, whose family runs a funeral parlor. It was supposed to be given as a present for Dana. I don't know if I like the idea of a coffin as a present, but, well, I guess it's okay since my two daughters seem to be having a good time. Ha ha ha.
Why? I don't care about Dana, but I loved you, Anna.
You didn't know how much I love my sister, did you?
What?
We've been together since birth. There's no way I couldn't like my sister. Yet, you talked bad about her all the time whenever you took me out to play. Anna's cold gaze, which showed that she was really pissed off, made my husband tremble. I was trying my best to keep her from hearing things I didn't want her to hear. But kids aren't that stupid, you know. If you look at them properly, you can see what kind of people their parents are. Anna nudged Dana to agree with her. Dana nodded her head. We talked it over and decided to stay with Mom. We are 18 and she doesn't want us to work, but we can do whatever we want, part-time or otherwise, to support the family. We don't need you anymore, Dad. Anna glanced at me after hearing Dana's words. I'm sorry for everything I put you through, Mom. You wanted a divorce, but you couldn't get on, could you? Thank you for trying to protect us. But now that I'm better, we can make a living together. You're free to go, Mom. Their kind words made my heart warm. I never realized that my daughters, whom I've been trying to protect, had grown so dependable before I knew it.
Hey, think again,
is what my husband said. But I ignored him and turned to my daughters. Thank you, but it's okay. You don't have to work. What? I smiled at them. It took a while, but I actually got a better job on the side. I'd been building a little secret savings account behind Dad's back. My daughters were surprised at my words, and my husband's mouth was wide open. Even if I wanted to get a divorce, I couldn't do anything without money. I secretly studied for a certification during my travel time, and now I'm working as a medical assistant. It was hard to keep your father away from the documents. I giggle, and my husband says,
No way! When did you do that?
No wonder. I didn't even know how to use a computer until a while ago. I was just a regular old lady. But I knew I couldn't afford to be a nanny to my daughters. I was lucky that there was an ex-medical office worker at my part-time job. I have nothing to worry about because I was able to get a lot of information. I'm getting a divorce. Will you follow me? My daughters nodded their heads and said yes. My husband, on the other hand, was telling me to calm down or something. The girls called him pathetic and persistent, and he agreed to the divorce. He neglected his family for so long, but the moment he realized he'd be alone, he turned his back on them and missed them. It's disgusting. It took a long time, but I'm really glad I got rid of him. Then, it came out that my husband made a big mistake at work, and he was demoted. The bottom line is that even if my husband had attended that meeting, instead of playing a prenatal funeral, my husband would not have been promoted in the future. This development, which was no one's fault but his own, broke my husband's heart and made him lose his will to work. Now he has been overtaken by a junior colleague who is more than 10 years younger than him, and he is now an employee. Are you saying you are not being pushed around? Being used means that you are useful. My husband's incompetence has been exposed. Oops, did I say too much? My daughters offered to work for me, even though I had changed jobs, because it would be better to have some savings. But I turned them down, telling them to focus on their schoolwork. Dana had given up high school to concentrate on her medical treatment. But when she asked me if she could get a high school diploma, I said yes. Dana went on to college, and as long as she kept her health in check, she was able to find a job. Anna also went on to university and joined a local small business as a new graduate, and so on. It is not like in the world of stories, where the child who struggled did not go on to a spectacular life, but I think it is a life like my daughters. As a parent, I'm proud of them. Now Dana and Anna are married, and Dana has 3 and Anna has 4 children. When Dana, who was very frail, gave birth to a child, I was deeply moved. It was a miracle that she had 3 children. Anna's children are very naughty and beg her to play with them every time she sees them. Grandma is too old to play with them. I've started strength training for the sake of my grandchildren, but it's a secret. I don't think it's possible to have a twin grandchild, but I should say they are twins. Dana's child and Anna's child look so much alike that I wondered where the husband's genes were. From a distance, it was hard to tell which child was which. Their husbands were surprised at the strength of their genes. The grandchildren are close to each other, and the husbands are also close to each other and visit me often, so I don't feel lonely living alone when I get old. I'm in for a year. Half of the year, Anna or Dana's family comes to visit me, so I could do with a little less time alone. I think I like to spend some time alone. I'm glad that my daughters don't want me to feel lonely, so I'll just leave it at that. Well, I guess I'm going to study how to bake a cake for my grandson's birthday next month. Lately, Dana's been telling me, "Mom, haven't you gotten a little rounder around the belly?" I guess so. With 7 grandchildren, 2 daughters and sons-in-law, and myself, we have a cake for someone's birthday about every month. But it's okay, because this is a sign of happiness. I will make a delicious cake.